The square in astrology. What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic, we are going to be talking about the aspect of the square in astrology. And this is just something that I loosely channeled the other day because a lot of times the square in astrology is considered like
a negative aspect.
But ain't nobody got time for no negatives up in this bitch, okay? Okay. So the square we are going to talk about, this is stuff that I channeled just based off of my own intuition. So you might see different things than I see with this, but I am not looking at anything really, but anything astrological as a potential negative. All we have here are different dynamics betwixt different signs and different placements. And we also have qualities of someone who's evolved and qualities of someone who is unevolved. It just depends where the fuck along they are on their journey. So when I'm speaking of the square, now we do know that a square in astrology, let's just say I'll use the cardinal points, okay? Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. They are 4 points and they're forming a square in the zodiacal wheel. So this also goes for planets. And the square, any point or celestial body in the natal chart that is about 90 degrees away from each other. So just use your own discretion, utilize your intuition. It really just depends. But sometimes I'll see something operating as a square, sometimes I won't. It just...
We're utilizing our motherfucking intuition.
So now for what I channeled in regards to the square, because you might not find this anywhere. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but I'm going with what resonates with me. So this is how I was conveyed the information of the square. So it's typically considered that the planets are not friendly with each other, or that they don't get along, or the signs involved are kind of clashing, which if we want to think about it logically, that can be looked at as a truth, because the square, we have the points of a square, they're all touching each other. So all the angles are kind of like I don't know if they're doing that exactly, but they're, you know, they're like this, okay? They're like pushing at angles against each other, right? Because it's like if you see two forces that they're going like this, boom, they collide at the motherfucking apex. So I'm just thinking apex predator. I don't know why, but this is why what I channeled, I saw from my viewpoint that the square is, it's power hungry. It's a power hungry motherfucking dynamic. Squares, whoosh, they're fucking apexes, okay? They're fucking apexes, because if we want to look at a square kind of on its side,
we gonna twist him a little bit, isn't we now?
We gonna twist him up. And now what do we have? Ooh, we have a diamond. Okay, so let's play ball on this motherfucking diamond, shall we? So we have this diamond, and that's how I look at it. I mean, I know they're technically called a square. A diamond is more rectangular in shape, but listen, okay?
I don't do tradition up in this bitch.
Love Uranus. So we have this dynamo combination going on, because they are hitting each other with force. They're hitting each other with power, but they're not moving anywhere. So it's like, wait, but I'm trying to get it my way, and this one's like, I'm trying to get it my way, right? So they're just like that. The, let's just say planets, even though the sun and the moon are celestial bodies, but we could even use an angle of the chart such as midheaven or ascendant. The planets involved, or maybe the signs, if we just want to look at like traditional basic signs, you know, like Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, like I said, they're all basically hitting each other like this, okay, with dynamic force. So each thing that is in the square, the energy that that thing is going to bring is almost the same as whatsoever it's squaring. Like, it has a similarity because the cardinal signs that I mentioned, they're all cardinal, right? So in that example, they all want to exert their own energy forward. That's why we have the cardinal cross. That's the square of the cardinal signs on the natal chart. That's also the pivotal points on the natal chart. So cardinal is just like they're they're pushing forward, they're pushing forward, they're pushing forward, right? But we could do this with the fixed, we could do this with the mutable as well. It's just going to bring a different type of energy.
You know astrology, so you know what they all fucking mean, but I just use that one as an example because I have a cardinal dominant motherfucking chart.
Anyway, so what we have are these things exerting force, which is similar, so it's a little bit familiar, but there's a different way of going about it. So whatsoever two objects are hitting each other with the dynamic force, they are going to be similar in essence. Like I said, like the cardinal energy, right? They want to push it forward. So especially with cardinal squares, boom, that motherfucker gonna be lit, okay? He gonna be lit. He go, oh, get that motherfucker some fucking water, because he gonna be lit, okay? So what we have going on in a square is now we picture that apex, right? So it's like the peak power because they can't go anywhere. So it's coming from this angle, planet A. Planet B is coming from this angle, and they're going up together and boom, apex. But now this one is like, hey, move motherfucker, and this one's like, no, you move motherfucker. So they're pushing against each other. So now we're gonna go into an energetical metaphor because that's how I roll up in here. We're gonna picture that energy colliding, but bits and pieces of that energy, right? Like if something gets hit full force, right, there's gonna be remnants, pieces that shatter and spray onto the top of the other side of the peak. Do you see what I'm saying? Just like this one, bits and pieces of this guy are gonna splatter on this side.
That sounds... Get your mind out of the fucking gutter, okay?
It's gonna have like a rock fall here, right? Because it's like, if you want to picture just like two big rocks, and now they sort of have little bits that broke off in that collision, and the bits from this one fell on this one, the bits from this one fell on that one. So that's like the best way that I can describe it. That was actually what I was shown, so I'm doing that because the universe wants me to do it. Now that we understand the energy, the two of them have sort of overlapped at that apex point of the square.
I like to fucking say the diamond because I fucking like a diamond. The diamond is a nice thing. It's like a fancy square.
So we have the two of them now, because there was a little spillage of this one's traits onto this guy at the apex, this one's traits onto that guy at the apex, the square. They're gonna have both functions operating at once because it's exuding power, so energy can't be created or destroyed. So what's going to happen is that they're just going to keep pushing against each other, pushing against each other, pushing against each other, and they're going to start having those little bits and pieces of the other one fly on the other one. So then at that apex point, the two planets or signs, whatever you have going on involved in that square, are going to have a little bit of an overlapment. So you're gonna see a power struggle within your own personality in that area, because it's like, I'm trying to move, motherfucker, like, no, and stop spraying your fucking rocks on me. However, I don't know where this fucking went, but you get the idea, right? So they both want to exert the force, and neither one of them is willing to yield to the other. So you have this collision point. So in the native's chart, in my opinion, why the square is typically considered to be detrimental is because not only are the energies similar but different, so they're similar in the way that neither of them is going to give up, right? That's why they're the square, they're apex. But they're different enough that you're gonna have a noticeable liaison betwixt the two of them within you at that point, wheresoever the sign or house or whatever, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I have a square, I have Venus square Jupiter, okay? And this is really what propelled me, because I was like, oh, I was looking at that, I was wondering about it, I'm like, Venus square Jupiter, interesting. But man, that bad boy, he's some good shit once you get to know the fucking square. So now it's like I have this activation with my fucking square going on, so that's what propelled me to talk about it. So either which way, we have, let's say, Venus square Jupiter, right? So for me, I'm just saying for me, but you take whatever for you. I notice in that area with me that the two of them are like pushing, and they're benefic planets, so obviously it's going to be different if, let's say, you have Mars square Pluto. I mean, it's going to come off a whole lot different, okay? But you know the traits of the planets, you know the houses, and you know the signs. So I'm just, just go with my example. Venus and Jupiter. So now it's like they both want to push their energy forward. They're in a pressure point, and now you have spillage. You have that rock fall from one into the other, and that's going both ways. So now it's like at that apex. Sometimes that square point is going to operate like Venus. Sometimes that square point is going to operate like Jupiter. So squares, especially, and I just noticed this because, as I mentioned, I have Uranus on my natal Jupiter. I have transiting Uranus on my Uranus on my natal Jupiter. Natally, Jupiter squares my Venus. So boom, it's gonna ricochet that energy, right? The transit to Jupiter for me, boom, Jupiter now, right? I mean, because Jupiter, he just likes to expand and share shit anyway, right? He's in my chart now because of the transit of Uranus. Listen, if you're too immature to, I like Uranus, okay?
Not Uranus, but I mean, I like the planet Uranus.
You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't trying to go that crazy up in this bitch. I like Uranus. He a cool motherfucker. Lord of the 11th, if that behooves you to refer to him as that, okay? But he's my zaddy. Anyway, so he's hitting my Jupiter, however which way he's transiting now. So the square in the chart is being activated, that apex point. So I think this is why it just dawned on me now, like, the riddle of the square and why it's fucking beneficial.
Because everything is beneficial.
So now that's hitting my Venus, and I was like, woo, lightning bolt. So I have this illumination on what the square does. So especially for you, what you might want to consider is looking at squares in your chart, and you see what transits are occurring, because the square is dynamo action. It's the apex, right? So they're already a power juncture point, apex predator. Mine happens to be benefic planets, and I see how that played out for me, like, ooh, So like I said, if you have different squares, the energy for you, it's going to play out differently. And you also want to take into consideration the houses as well as the signs, but you already know that. So this is how I see it, okay? So pay attention to transits, to squares, because it's still going to activate the other planet. So if you have a square in your chart, you're looking at the activation, it's going to have more of a power punch the first planet that transiting planet hits. Then it's going to be a little bit watered down after that, and then it's going to be a little bit watered down after that. So I would personally only pay attention to the planet being hit and if they have any power aspects going on to them. So it could be a square, a conjunction, whatever, but we're talking about the square here. At least I hope we still are. I mean, I don't even know where the conversation went. I never do, but it's all good. So that's what's going on with the square. So they're constantly hitting each other, but there's a spillage of one trait into the other, and that's the power play. Why the square gets a bad rap in motherfucking astrology, because it's like the signs are already interacting in a weird manner, but now it's like a collision point. They're both trying to like be the boss and shit. And not only that, but because they keep butting heads, it's like, okay, well now, I don't know, I'm just picturing like if someone is like arm wrestling with someone, it's like their fingers are interlocked. So it's sort of like now they're working together, but it's like like that, and they're both sweating, and then it's like this motherfucker's sweaty hand got this motherfucker's thumb, and now they're all fucking sweaty arm wrestling, okay? Just go with it. So now they're interacting in this way, but bits and pieces from that collision have infiltrated that square. So it's sort of like they're rocking back and forth. It's like what to do. It's not like an opposition. It's more just a charged up situation. And sometimes it can behave like one, and other times it can behave like the other. So I don't know if that was all over the place, but if it was, it's all good. I am Oculus, the alien next door. We will chit chat again soon.